You don't have to make it fancy. I'm Pam Zerfus Hubbard. So Zerfus like surface, Hubbard like old mother. And I am the interim dean of instruction for career technical education, library, and athletics, in addition to being the director of athletics at Clovis Community College. I say both because I was originally hired last January to be the director of athletics, and then 3 months in, got this opportunity to take on the interim dean of instruction role.
Thank you. And next I have Timothy Perry.
Hello all, my name is Timothy Perry. I'm an admissions advisor and recruiter for Western New Mexico University, previous Grossmont alum, part of the football team. And yeah, we're just here to encourage higher education for our African-American students.
Thank you. And I want to make sure I get this right. Is it Tamara McDonald?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Tamara.
Hi, I'm Tamara McDonald, and I am currently an assistant women's basketball coach here at University of Washington. I graduated from Pepperdine University, and I spent 10 years in college coaching and just in the business of people. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have next Gregory.
Yes, I'm Gregory Green. I'm the coordinator of academics and athletic services at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. And I've been here for 11 years, also coached for over 20, 30 years in football and tennis.
Thank you, Gregory. Next, I have Janae.
Hello, guys. My name is Janae Young. I'm up in Sacramento, California. I am currently a physical therapy assistant in the physical therapy doctorate program. Got about a year left. I'm the CEO of Infinite Sports Performance that I just launched in January. And previously I played professionally and overseas, just like Tamara, but I played for about 5 years. And now I kind of do the physical therapy realm of athletics.
Awesome, thank you. And next I have Tamaka.
Hi, my name is Tamaka Smith-Jones. I'm the new COO at Kennesaw State University in Atlanta, Georgia. I was a former athletic director twice. My job and role now is just bridge gaps, fill holes, make sure the balls don't get dropped, and make sure our team works hard, but smart also. So I'm the person that keeps the department running and enjoy that role.
Thank you, Tamaka. Keith.
Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Turner. I'm the interim outreach coordinator at Grossmont College. The athletics hat that I wear is I'm the head track and field coach at Hoover High School. And also I was a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness for a few years. And so that's how I'm involved in athletics, and I look forward to answering you guys' questions.
All right, thank you. Jason, I know you're not part of the panel, but you're awesome at putting all of this together. So Jason, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, dang, put me on the spot. Of course, thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Allen. I am a counselor and emotion coordinator for Grossmont College. Super happy to see everybody here today. Enjoy.
Thank you. And I also have Jamar Taylor on. He is at an appointment right now, so I'm not sure if he's able to introduce himself or not, but I will give him the opportunity. Jamar?
Hey, guys. So I know it's kind of loud in here. I'm at physical therapy right now. It's been kind of a crazy morning, but I'm Jamar Taylor. Originally from Southeast San Diego, went to Helix High School. I've been playing professional football going on 9 years. I have a nonprofit called First Chance Youth Foundation that gives back to the youth, trying to, bridge the gap. With networking and growth opportunities. I also do some real estate investing with my wife. My wife and I, we also make children's books. We do a plethora of things, kind of have our hand in a little bit of everything, but I look forward to being on the panel with you guys and sharing our experiences and having a great talk today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Jamar. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the question. And I'm going to toss this to Tamaka and also Mark. So as an athletic administrator, and I'm also going to toss in a coach, how can a person put himself or herself in position to become a coach and or administrator?
That's a loaded question, but I'll just say, educate yourself as much as you possibly can. Get the skills and tools that you need to be proficient in the role. But also, I think network sounds cliche, but it's very important, and it really stems around not just who you know and who you can meet and build relationships with, but also who will know you and remember you when there are opportunities that are presented. That they'll call your name, they'll seek you out, they'll ask you to apply and get into their pool for hiring. I think those are two key components.
I will echo all of that, and I hope students get a lot out of today's workshop, but to be honest, I don't care if they do or don't. I'm going to get a lot out of it. Okay. So I say that to say that's the attitude that you need if you want to get into anything. You've got to understand, I'm willing to go the extra mile. I'm willing to do whatever. So if you're on, this conference right here with all of these great people, you better have a notepad in hand, get some contact information, because it is that networking. It is going out. It is meeting the people that are doing what you want to do and not being afraid to ask them. One important thing I've just learned in life, successful people want to share how they got there, and they're willing to do that. You just need to be the one that goes and asks. And so finding people that are doing what you want to do, sitting down with them, I'll take you to lunch. Why don't you share your educational and your career journey with me? Having the guts to do that, I think is what sets somebody apart to get into athletics. So, that's what I would share.
Great in-your-face advice, Mark. Appreciate that. Thank you, Tamaka, as well. I do also want to get a coach's perspective on this conversation as well, because, sometimes that's where we start. Some of us are not fortunate enough to jump from being a student athlete straight into administration. So we have to get started. So Tamara, can you give me some insight on how some of our student athletes can get started into becoming a coach?
Yeah, I really think it has a lot to do with just building relationships, understanding that even as a student athlete right now or student, you're constantly being evaluated by the folks around you. And because of that, I think, it's important to not only live your life and demonstrate integrity, but also to be mindful of that. And so when you think about that as a student athlete, you might be getting a job from your rival coach later on down the line, right? Or understanding that when people look to sort of do these reference checks, they're going to call everybody outside of your circle, but people who have experienced you. And so just understanding that as a player, you're constantly auditioning. It may not necessarily be a job in athletics. It could be just any job. And you may, someone may be connected to your history professor, right? And so show up on time. Be a person who obviously cares about how you represent not only your institution, but yourself. So just modeling, right? Remember that you're constantly always auditioning, and just also for people of color, right? We are held to a higher standard. Sometimes that pressure is a lot, and just embracing that, like Mark said, take all that you can out of these interactions, follow up with an email, be persistent. People have a hard time saying no, believe it or not. So be persistent about what you want and never deviate from your path, and have a plan when you want to get into not just coaching, but just in any workforce. So just win or lose, remember, carry yourself with integrity. You're always interviewing, whether you know it or not.
So on that note, I appreciate that, Tamara. I think that's some great advice. Timothy, when you were here at Grossmont College and you were looking at what you were going to do in the future, tell me 3 things you thought about when you completed Grossmont College.
So when I finished
I'm sorry to put
Grossmont,
you on the spot with that question. So I apologize, but I thought that was a great segue. So tell me 3 things you thought about leaving Grossmont College.
So that's fine. As I was leaving Grossmont, I was kind of thinking about where I was athletically. I was thinking about my grades, and I was thinking about which school would put me on the best platform, so I can go and play professionally and take that professional route. Coming from Grossmont, coming from a community college, I understood that my grades weren't the best and that I had to, get my grades up and make those marks for myself so I can get into those, higher universities. Once I got to Grossmont and my first season had took place, I had to sit down with Patrick. He was able to tell me that, hey, we're looking at your amount of semesters that you have left. You're not able to go D1. So that shot me right out the sky. And that really crushed my dreams of, being on the biggest platform, And so from there, I had to kind of like take myself and just get back to ground zero and start researching other schools that were good, that played good competition, where different scouts would come out. We're talking about my time here at Western. I was playing in front of, the Rams, the Panthers would come out to our practice, different schools. So I just wanted to make sure that I put myself in position so that I had a professional opportunity. And another thing, my family played a factor because me being such a family-oriented person, like I said, I have two brothers that also played at Grossmont, and then I had a brother that ran track at Cuyamaca. We were really competitive. And so I kind of used them as fuel to kind of keep me motivated while motivating them, because they still had time to go D1. They still had opportunities. So we kind of use that community. We use that bond to drive one another. Even during my professional training, I would include like bringing my brothers and stuff so that, they get a taste of what it feels like. So it was kind of like, just keeping that community to build one another up. And then, just being ready for when the opportunity presented itself. So yeah, that's pretty much the top three things.
Okay. Thank you for that, Tim. And I want to stay on this topic for just a second, because a lot of our student athletes want to know how to get started. And so I know that we have some administrators here that were also coaches. I myself was a coach before I became an administrator. So Gregory, I'm going to throw it to you for a second, because you coached for a number of years and now you're in administration. So how was your transition from coaching to administration? And also, if you could just give just some tidbits of advice on how to actually get involved in coaching coming straight out of college.
Okay, it's kind of like some of the things that Dr. Jones was talking about. First, it had a lot to do with relationships and for people to know who you are and what you stand for. As a coach, I always held myself to a certain standard. I always worked hard, winning championships. And I think that determination moved me to in certain positions that I didn't even know I was going to go into. For instance, I was at smaller university where we didn't have academic advisors. So one day the coach came to me and asked me to handle academics. And I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? He said, you figure it out. So I figured it out. I started pulling up syllabi. I started working and figuring out what it takes to graduate from different courses. And every job I had from there, I was always the academic guy, smaller universities. So then when the opportunity presented itself at this Division I program, I basically was already seasoned before I even got there. And not realizing I was doing the process, actually I was doing it even more, being a coach and being an academic counselor at the same time. And it kind of made my job a little easier being both, because when it comes to academics, most of you guys will realize it's really not the program that you have. You can have the best plan, but if you don't have the discipline from the players, you won't have a good academic program. And when I was a coach in academics, I was able to be basically the policeman and do the academic piece. So when I got to this level, I recognized that it put me in a position to just do academics, but I recognize it takes more discipline from the players, and someone that can give them that structure is just not enough. So basically I already had that, and realizing that coaching is probably, it helped in the relationship with the players. When the players know that I played the sport, I coached the sport, I've been through everything you've been through. And I understand what you're going through. And compassion and sympathy is one of the top things you need to keep in your vocabulary when you're dealing with young people, because you guys haven't figured it out yet. That frontal lobe ain't quite developed. And we were there before and learned from people that's been through where you want to go. And I think that's what got me to this position, was really something I really wasn't planning on doing. But, God got a way of working things out. And then at the same time, as long as I'm still working with young minds and being able to be a support in their lives, that's the most gratifying thing to me. It's like, instead of me waiting on Fridays for that big game or Saturday for that big game, my game is maybe Monday through Saturday, when a kid tells me he got a B on the grade that we fought for with tutor sessions and mentoring sessions, and he struggled to that point. So I get victories a lot more often than I did before as a coach, but I still get those victories and I get those trials and tribulations. But it helped me, being a coach, to be a better academic counselor. I think it did. And if you want to do that, it's not a hard thing to do, but understand a lot of hours that you got to put in. I think I'm putting in more hours as an academic counselor than I ever did as a coach, because academics, it goes, it's 3 semesters. It's fall, spring, and summer. As long as the kid is in school, I'm at work. So in football or in tennis, it was just my season or my recruiting season. So understand there's a lot of time you got to put in doing on the academic side or any administration side, because as long as you're in school, there's work to be done.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And you're definitely correct. It's a lot of work being an administrator, because you don't just have a sport, you have all of the student athletes. So it's definitely a lot of work. So let's go to our next question, unless anyone absolutely wants to chime in on this conversation before we go to the next topic. And at any time, if you have a comment, just please raise your hand and we can definitely make sure to recognize and acknowledge your hand. Okay. So the next question, and I will toss this to Pam. So Pam, sometimes there's a negative narrative or just a narrative around Black leadership in athletics. This is oftentimes where our experience and what we bring to the table is sometimes not appreciated and or watered down. Have you, in your time as an administrator, have you faced this particular stereotype?
I think that I'll start it with yes. That's the short answer. I think that one of the challenges you add on top of that is that you're a Black female. The Black females have this second layer that will automatically happen. I came out of Sacramento and got my master's degree in sport management out of the University of San Francisco. I will preface all this by saying, I think I'm the only person on this panel that did not play a sport. I've never played a sport in my life, and yet here I am. And it's because I have a love for the games, in plural, and a love for student athletes and appreciation of the work that gets done. So when I got my master's degree, I moved up to Alaska. Never thought I'd ever live in Alaska. Lived in Alaska for 11 years and moved up there to become the assistant AD for compliance and the SWA up there, and ran into more walls because I was a Black female and was constantly having to hit my head up against that wall. It was partially because of my athletic director. Really, at the time, I was thinking he didn't know what to do with me as the SWA. What I grew to learn later from other people is that he was intimidated by me, because he knew that what I was saying was right. He knew that what I was doing was right, and he was intimidated by that. And I think that that's probably the biggest challenge, is that you will face this. And whether you're a Black male, whether you're a Black female, whether you're a female, whatever, there is always going to be somebody in there that is going to question you and will question your intentions, will question your background, will question everything that they can. And that's where you just kind of continuously are going. And I've had more times when I've just been like, okay, well, that isn't the answer that you want to hear. Either too bad, I'm going to tell you again, or we're going to go a different route so I can help you understand why we're going that way. So it is a challenge. And I'll throw in the third thing. Like I said, I didn't play a college sport. So I have that third level where I have administrators, I have coaches, I have student athletes that are like, you don't understand the struggle. And my comment back to them is, I do because I worked full-time and I worked part-time and went to school full-time. You're a student athlete with 2.5 jobs. I was a student with 2.5 jobs. I had the same struggle as you do. So it's a fight, but you do it because you love what you do. And I can't imagine I actually left athletics for a few years and missed it so much and came back for that very reason.
Thank you, Pam, for that insight. Thank you. And Janae, I see you nodding, shaking your head in agreement. So Janae, do you want to weigh in on this topic?
Yeah, I will. When she was just bringing up being a Black female is something I run into a lot, especially in physical therapy. There's not too many people that look like me. Like the clinic that I worked at, which was good. We were very multicultural, but I was the only Black female in there. The owner was Indian. We had a Mexican guy who was there. We had one white girl. So it was very multicultural, which I loved. But to see patients come in and look at me and sometimes they didn't know that I was the one in charge. They're like, oh, is she the aide or is she the, whatever. They wouldn't say it to my face, but I could just tell that they were like, oh, you're working with me, or, oh, you're my physical therapist, or that kind of look and whatever. So I just, with that touches home a little bit too. And I try to tell people we do have to work 10 times harder. I think Mark and both Tamara said that as well. Like it's just part of it. Even going through the doctorate program, there's 36 students and I'm the only Black female. And so just, coming up is just, I got to work harder. I can't fail out. You got to make it, so that's a big point.
Greg, did I see your hand? Okay, Greg, I'll come to you. And then after that, I'll go to Tamaka.
All right, great. Well, you guys are hitting things on the point. Now, on the male side is when you're standing about 6'3", 275 pounds, and if you don't smile all the time, they think you're mad at the world. So that's that. And being in education, like football, it was great. I was that guy. I fit that picture. I was that guy, looked just like that football player, always a football coach, always looking mad, always looking at the world in a different perspective. But then when you get in academics, and now, why can't I talk to him? He's always looking mad. I'm afraid to approach him. He don't look approachable. So now I got to put a face on every day and make sure my teeth is clean, that I'm smiling all the time and grinning just to make sure that they're comfortable. Not that I'm comfortable, but they're comfortable. And, I had to adjust to that. That was where one of my biggest adjustments coming into on this side of the ball was their hang-ups, and for me to adjust and not be myself and put on a show 8 hours of the day just to make them comfortable. And so what you got to understand, sometimes it's just like when that cop pull you over, you got to do what you got to do to survive that day. And it is what it is. And at the same time, I could pull a couple to the side, try to educate them on what I'm going through, or I'm a good guy just because I'm 6'3" and Black and bald headed. I'm still a good guy. Just get a chance to know it. Just get a chance to know me, and you'll see there's more to me. And that's the education I want you guys, you athletes, to understand. You got to push that, because fear is only because they don't know no better. They don't know you. Fear is ignorance. Fear is just not knowing. And when I walk in the door, I do command and demand respect. And it's not me threatening. It's just who I am and how I was raised. So try to be a little bit patient and understand what they're thinking too. And try to educate those you can't. Stay strong in who you are and be well educated on what you're doing.
So I must say that now we're getting down to some real talk and some nitty gritty here. And I do want to say to everybody, I know Greg personally, he is a good guy. So if you see him and he looks mean, he's really not. He's a great guy. So I hope that UAB is not intimidated. So I hope that they're okay out there. So let's go to Tamaka.
Yes, I'm glad Greg spoke on the male side, and he is a great guy. And I'm not gonna call him a teddy bear because that might not bode well for the public. But he is as nice as they come. He gets stuff done. But I'll just say that he said something that I want to make sure that the audience does not lose, and that is you have to make the adjustments. And as student athletes, you've made adjustments all of your career in sport as an adult and a professional. I just want to make sure that that is clear, that you have to make the adjustments. Pam hit it spot on, as another Black woman, I've, been called everything. Some I hear, some I don't. Please believe that what I hear, I address. So I don't hear as much, but I live by this kind of philosophy that I have to show up fully every day who I am as a woman, as a mother, as a Black woman, because the next person that has to show up needs to be able to do that as well. If I show up someone that I'm not, and I fit the mold, I go into the box, I, shrink myself and do all these things, and guess what? They're never going to be prepared for all the millions of young people that are going to come up and want to step in these shoes. And so I just want to, share that so that people can, just get in your mind that their adjustments going to have to continue to be made throughout your professional career. And I've made them, and I've never felt like I have showed up any person other than who I am. And I think that's why I've been so blessed to be able to navigate a lot of spaces and places. I know where I fit in. I know where I have to make adjustments to fit in. I do what I need to do that, because it's not just about me and for me, but it's about the people that we need to serve, that need us to do that. I'll share this last thing, and I'll turn it back over to you, Nedra. In my plight for the opportunity that I'm in right now, I interviewed with some other institutions, and I'll tell you, in their background checks and references, I love this authentic side right here. I get to tell this story. I pinned it down saying, I'm gonna get to tell that story one day. There were reference checks that called and said, she's great, she's awesome, but she's intense. And I was like, excuse my French, what the hell does intense mean? Like, I get stuff done. I show up fully every day. But, that's the code for, whatever, people want to put on you. But it doesn't keep you from being and getting exactly where you need to be. So keep showing up intense, keep driving, keep, doing you, and just know that those that are watching you and that you're modeling for get better every day, because you do that, and you don't show up someone that you're not.
That's a great message, Tamara. That's, I think that's what it is. It's also called code switching. Sometimes we have to code switch, in order to make sure that we're doing some of the things that, others like to see. And it's hard to code switch. That takes a lot of work. So, you know what? I've decided that I can't do it because I'm not an actress and I don't get paid actress money. So I'm just going to be Nedra. So that's a great message. Let's go to Tamara, and then we'll go to Mark.
Yeah, I really appreciate just the commentary, because I do think that what I was brought up on is this idea that you have to not be yourself. And that's exhausting to be someone else. It's exhausting to wear a mask. It's exhausting to explain, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate when you're managing race relations in the workplace. And the comment that I really want to just make, as we are in athletics, whether we're in leadership positions or not, we're always modeling for younger generations. And what I was taught was to not be yourself, right? I was taught to be someone else, to speak differently. Don't use that type of language when you're here. And what I've learned from this younger, more fearless, unapologetic generation is that we need to be comfortable in our skin, especially in athletics, because we are the talent sometimes, and most often the case. And people can adapt to understanding that the reason why we typically lean towards code switching is because we don't have people like Nedra in leadership positions willing to create this inclusive environment. And so what happens is we teach our athletes, or we model to our athletes, to be someone other than yourself. And then, so now we just create a culture of, we have to fake it the whole time. And to me, what what this younger generation, especially over the summer, has taught me is to advocate for people to see Black people as a whole and see that we're different. All Black people are not the same, right? We all come from different parts of the country. We all have different moral codes. And so to not lump us all into one. And so to treat people exactly the way you see them in front of you, and to actually not teach our kids to code switch, because then some head coaches who are in positions that coach majority Black kids don't learn how to be sensitive when it comes to race situations. And so just, again, I mean, this goes probably to the heart of everyone on this conversation, right? Is that we are intelligent. I've never been in so many spaces where I've heard, wow, you are really intelligent. And now my response is, when that used to burn me up inside, is, would you tell a white woman that they're intelligent? And I pause and smile, so it's not threatening or intimidating. But the reality is, you would never say that to someone who wasn't of color. And so I actually say we reject all those things and we call them by their names in the workplaces to make people adapt and come around to this. That's not okay. It's probably never been okay, but it's really not okay now, because this generation coming behind us, you will be out of a job if you can't get along and figure out, people aren't going to adapt to your comfort level. I remember I used to have to flatten my hair, perm it, press it. Now I wear my hair natural, and I'm unapologetic about who I am. Right? Thank you. And I think it's important for us to teach our kids to be authentic, because then people will never get used to Black people being in leadership positions, right? Because we'll always have to morph and be somebody else.
Wow, thank you, Tamara. I mean, I'm getting chills. This conversation is awesome. I am getting chills. I definitely hope that not just our student athletes of color, that they're listening. I hope that everyone is listening, because it does us no good to hear it and listen, because we know what it's about. It's what we need others to hear. So thank you so much. And I'm gonna go to Mark, but I do wanna say the next topic will be for Keith and Jamar. Please feel free to jump in on this topic as well, but we're gonna go into the modern day and the previous student athlete and how we kind of bridge that gap. So you guys hold on for me. I want to go to Mark and stay on this topic for just a little bit.
Yeah. So if somebody had to pay $10 to be a part of this, they would have already gotten like 1,000 times their money's worth. This is powerful stuff and really, really good. I wanted to just on this topic, and I'm a positive thinker. I think if you're in athletics in any way, shape, or form, you better be a positive thinker. I don't care if you're down by, 20 points with, 10 seconds left. There's a way to win. And it's that same mindset I want people to think about, just as I heard a lot of people talking about, like, I'm the only one, that's Black, or I'm the only female, or and I just want to flip it for us, because it made a huge difference for me when I was able to do this. If I'm the only one in my master's program that's African-American, I'm the only one in my doctorate program that's African-American, I'm the only one that's interviewing for this athletic director job that's African-American, I could look at that as a negative, or I could say, what a unique opportunity for me to stand out, to be noticed, to be recognized. They're going to remember me one way or another because I'm the only one. And if we are prepared, if we've done our homework, if we know what we're doing, if we're competent, which we are, when we go in there, having that attitude of they're going to remember me because I'm the only one. I put myself in a category that is different than anybody else interviewing for that job. All right. So it really does come down to preparation, doing our homework, making sure we're prepared, making sure we're bringing our A game every single day, because we get to interview like nobody else gets to interview. So just take that with a grain of salt. But it changed everything for me when I showed up with that in mind.
Thank you so much, Mark. And I don't want to leave this topic if anyone has anything else to add or say or comment. I definitely want to make sure that the message is understood that there's no watering down because how we look. If anything, we bring more substance, we bring more quality because we have a very diverse observation and opinion and assessment of things. So I want to make sure that, we do not leave this conversation. If there are any other comments on it, please let me know, raise your hand, but go ahead, Timothy, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how to raise my hand up here, so
That's
I'll
okay.
try to just raise my hand. I want to say thank you guys because me recently, finding my career path in academics, you guys kind of are touching on topics that we really don't talk about in the workplace. You really don't hear a lot of people talk about being of color, being intense about what you do. They kind of just look at you like, you're big, you're black, you got dreadlocks, you're aggressive, and they don't understand that, you come to work just like they come to work. You prepare yourself just like they prepare yourself. So, I'm just soaking it up, and I have to say thank you guys because it's just showing me that I'm not the only one that experiences it, and that there's a social thing that we kind of have to address, and that we shouldn't try to dress it up and make it seem like, oh, we have to act white or act like another race, but be unapologetically black and be okay with being who you are, just expressing yourself. We're one of the most creative races. We come up with a lot of stuff, from the trends to new technology, and we're innovative. So I just want to say thank you guys, for just being just having that diction, being able to put your words together and show that you don't have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, be in a certain position to be educated and to sound quote unquote smart.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Timothy. Thank you so much. Great comment. So now let's go to our next topic, and this is going to be for anyone, but I want to start the conversation with Jamar, as he is our professional athlete, and then also I want to go to Keith as a former student athlete. So let's discuss the modern day professional athlete as well as the modern day student athlete, as in comparison to some of our previous athletes. So I'll put myself out there. I'm a previous athlete. I'm not a current athlete. I'm in my 40s. So I would consider myself to be a previous student athlete and coach. So Jamar, how would you compare the modern day professional athlete in comparison to someone like Jim Brown or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, some of our older former professional athletes?
That's a good question. So I would say the biggest thing right now for, professional athletes, everybody's just bigger, taller, stronger than those guys. And it's no knock, to Jim Brown, like, who I know pretty well because I played in Cleveland for 3 years. Great guy. But in his time, Jim was bigger, faster, stronger than half those guys, and just, powering through guys. Compared to now, you have guys that are being born that look like Julio Jones and DK Metcalf, and they look, those guys come out, huge. So I would say that, the game is a little bit faster now. I would say that, I would say the game is changing. And, when we talk about a physical standpoint, because of concussions and things like that. So the NFL is always trying to find a different way. And then when you look at any league right now, I think it's almost turning into the players we have more say now. And we're using our platforms way bigger. Social media is a big part of that. But we're teaming up with one another to try to change the league, these leagues the way we want them. And these owners make, $1 billion plus per year off of us. And guys are starting to say, like, you know what, you make all this money off of us. Okay, well, this is what you need to do. You need to meet us on our terms. Compared to, Dan Marino days, like, back then, the players just kind of did what they had to do. You know, it was hard nosed. It was you make a check for your family and you be grateful for the shield. It's like, hey, we're still grateful. I mean, we all come from various places. We all have struggled many different ways, but at the same time, we have this platform to leverage whatever we want to make happen. So I would say that's the biggest difference right now from, you know, then and now. And I think even looking at, you know, the younger guys, I can say now being in year 9, the younger guys now compared to even when I started, I mean, social media is crazy right now. Guys are making a crazy, you know, a lot of money off of just their image alone. Compared to when I came in, I think Instagram was just starting. Nobody really, you know, Facebook was there, but you know, these marketing companies are reaching out. They're cutting out the middleman as far as agents and lawyers and marketing teams, and they're paying these players, you know, to show their product online. And I think it's going to, you know, it's going to continue to just evolve.
And so just in case for those that maybe did not catch it, Jamar, and thank you for that comment. Jamar is a member of the San Francisco 49ers. So he has a real direct, I guess, knowledge of the modern day. Well, I don't know, Jamar, if you're modern day, you're 9 years removed. So I might have to move you into previous. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Jamar. I'm kidding. But I didn't know you was in the game for 9 years. You've been in the game for a while now.
I'm getting up there.
Yeah, you are, but that's awesome because you know you want to keep moving, and if you're still there, that means you're doing a great job. So I want to say thank you for that. And we just had another person to join us, our other NFL player, Anthony Lanier. So Anthony, the question was, I hate to throw you right into the fire as soon as you get on, but let me repeat the question, and then I'm going to go to, I tell you what, let me go to Keith first. And what I'll do is I'll repeat the question for Keith, and then Anthony, you'll hear it as well. Okay. So the question is, let's discuss the modern day professional athlete as well as the modern day student athlete compared to some of our previous athletes. And so Keith, with you being a previous student athlete, can you talk about how the difference is now from when you were a student athlete to student athletes of current?
That's a great question. And I would say the first thing that comes to mind now, I think about the balance, right? The balance of being a student athlete where we have to juggle classwork and training. And I think it comes down to like me being a previous athlete, I didn't have to deal with social media as much, which was a distracting piece. Now we're spending more and more hours per day on social media, right? And that time is taken away from student athletes where they could be studying, right? Getting their grades up, or they could be working another job. Just managing your time better and trying to balance that out, I think is the difference now. A big piece of what could affect your life, right, as a student athlete. And so I think that's something that I highly recommend that you try to stay off your phone as much as possible. I know it's difficult right now because everything is technology based, but we get so distracted with our cell phones and stuff now. Whether you're in class right now, you could be in class on social media, right? Back then when I was a student athlete, social media wasn't that big. We did have Facebook and stuff, of course, but Instagram now, everything's trending, right? What's new? I got to see what's going on. And your phone is going off every second. It's not just text messages no more. Now you're getting alerts from Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right? We have all these things trying to pull our attention away from us. And so that's one of the things that I think you guys, that I would suggest is try to get away from your phone, put it on silent. When you're in class, put that phone in your backpack. Don't even have it out, right? And so just balancing that out is going to be something that will be beneficial to you and getting you some of that time back and allowing you to focus what's in front of you, right? Focus on what's the task ahead so that you guys can get things done quicker and then move on to the next task, right? And then when you're done with everything, then pull out your phones and see what you missed for the day. If it's not an emergency, it doesn't deserve your immediate attention. And so that's one of the things I didn't have to deal with that I'm glad I didn't have to deal with now, because I see myself, even as an, administrator and coach now, sometimes I I struggle with that, right? We all do. I think everybody on this this leadership panel, they're dealing with this as well. We get pulled away from things. When we're on this meeting, I bet you everyone's phone is going off. So that's one of the things I would say is just trying to balance that work life and school life and the distractions. That's the key piece right now that I would give to everyone as a golden nugget leaving this meeting is what can I take away from today? What's one thing I could do different? Hey, let me put my phone away when I'm in class. I don't want my attention being pulled, because you can miss something critical that can make all the difference. And so, for the sake of time, I'll probably leave that as my piece that I want to share with everyone.
Well, you'll definitely get another opportunity, Keith, to share more. And you just taught me something. That's something I think as adults and professionals, we all need to do, is to put our phones down more. So thank you for that encouragement. So I'll definitely pay attention to that next time I pick my phone up and I'm supposed to be in the Zoom meeting. So I want to go back now. Ask Anthony to kind of compare the modern day professional athlete compared to previous athletes. And I want to stay sort of on what Keith just talked about as it pertains to social media, exposure, being monitored and looked at every second of the day, and, just not having any privacy. So if you could talk more about that and how our student athletes now should be mindful of what they put on social media will follow them.
Yeah, so everything that they put up there, of course, is going to be put out there to the public. Social media has ruined a lot of people's lives because they bring up the past. They bring up something they did in their earlier self before they matured and grow. So now you take that and you're trying to make this new brand of yourself, and it's not able to, mesh together to get to that point of almost to a point of like where you want to see yourself in life. And when you get to that point with that, you just basically are shooting yourself in the foot with it, because I've done young things and, and it's carrying over to what I'm trying to do now and I'm trying to pursue. So the student athletes don't think about that stuff. They think about going to the parties and they're thinking about what they're doing with their friends. And, and the worst thing about it is they're posting the things they're doing with their friends that's not, extracurricular or whatever. And y'all know what I mean by that. But, and when you see the privacy of a person goes away, it's because that camera that's on their phone that can be so fast to go on the social media, whether it be TMZ, whether it be, this late night talk show, and you no longer have that privacy. So now you have to carry yourself in a whole different platform. And you have to understand that your life is now put on hold to what you would maybe enjoy doing or what you would do as an average person, because it will affect the business side of it, or the athletic part, or just the student and the character part of it.
And so I'm glad that you talked about how it will affect you coming up. I want to go back to Jamar, and then I'm gonna come back to you, Anthony. I see you today. 1 second. Real fast, we talked about this at the beginning, and I know that a lot of our students want to hear this, because every football player, basketball player have dreams and aspirations of becoming a professional athlete. They really can't concentrate on anything else other than becoming a professional athlete. So Jamar and then Anthony. Jamar, if you could tell me and our listeners 3 things that you would give them as it pertains to advice on pursuing your dreams of becoming a professional athlete. 3 things that they can do to do that, and then just give them a nugget of advice.
That's good. If I have to narrow it down to 3 things, I feel like I have at least 5, but
go ahead with 5. I'll give you 5, Jamar.
So the one thing I would say is, the first thing I would say, and me and my wife and I, we talk about this all the time, but just dream big. Dream big. Only you hold your vision, right? Like, I have it on my wall. Like, God gives you a vision for a reason. I dreamed about playing, in the National Football League like most guys since I was 5 years old. And I was the cousin or the friend who Everybody want to play basketball. I'm like, no, let's go play football. Let's go do this. Let's go to the park, right? Let's play tackle, whatever the case may be. And I remember when I got in high school, I told all my friends, like, I'm going to the NFL. Everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I was the best on the team. I mean, I have countless friends who were better than me, but just didn't have the discipline. Right. And that goes to my next thing. And the second thing is discipline. You have to be so disciplined to, you have to dare to be different. You have to want to be that good where it's like, I'm going to sacrifice everything. I think about high school and my mentor, who was like a big brother to me, Trey Young, he played for the University of Montana, went and played in like the UFL and Canadian and the CFL for a long time. But he woke me up every day at 5 o'clock and we lifted weights at the end of my freshman year to my senior year. And we got it in. And matter of fact, at the end of my senior year, he ended up leaving because he had to go play. And I just kept it going. And I brought somebody along with me, one of my best friends, Chris Peterson, who ended up playing at Humboldt State. And it was just the discipline. It was the, discipline and dedication. And I was okay with missing parties. I was okay with not being in the school yearbook. I was okay with, missing all the fun things at school because I was like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to ball out there. And I know I'm going to go to NFL. So, dream big, discipline. Another thing is just work hard. If I'm going to end with anything, I'm going to go 3, but just work hard. It's the dedication aspect of it. Whenever, I heard in a Will Smith interview, he's like, when everybody sleep, I'm working. When everybody's, like he's always constantly getting better at his craft. And that's how I was from high school to college, even now, dealing with this ACL recovery. Like I'm always doing something football oriented because this is my life and this is what I love to do. It's after you get done with the workouts, do you want to go do footwork? It's after you get done with school and doing homework, do you want to go watch the extra film? It's asking the hard questions to your coaches and not being afraid to ask those questions and don't think that you have it all figured out, coaches and teammates alike, right? So, I've had great people along the way. They say it takes a village. I've had great teammates, great mentors. And and when I got in college, I followed, the guys who's making plays, I'm following that guy because he's doing it for a reason. I got in the NFL. I had like Cortland Finnegan. That was another guy. Like I mimicked everything after because these guys right here, they worked hard. They displayed those 3 things that I said. So if I had 3, those would definitely be my 3.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jamar. And I'm going to come back to you, Anthony. I want to get Janae real fast. And then we're about to be at the top of the hour. I want to grab Pam and Tamaka before they have to leave. I'm gonna grab you. How much time I got, Tamaka? I got 5 minutes. Do I got 5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes. Let me grab Janae because I want to talk about race in sports, and I want to get your thoughts on that real fast. So, Janae, go ahead.
I was just touching on what Anthony said about the social media and what you put out there, and trying to just promote all the shenanigans that you do and not realize it can follow you. And I wasn't on the same professional level as like the NBA and stuff like that, but still overseas, the cities are very small. So they know all your business if you're over there. And it's probably just similar to the NFL in America or the NBA. And a lot of the times too, what you put out there may not be portrayed how it actually went down. And when the media gets a hold of it, you lose the opportunity to say what really happened. I mean, once the media gets it, it's over. It goes rampage to whatever story that is pushed by the media. And it's not necessarily what actually happened or it's just a lot. So I think that being very careful how you portray yourself in public and stuff like that is so important, because you never know how it can be flipped. So making sure that you are portraying what you want to portray in public eye is just very important once you get to the professional level.
Thank you, Janae. And I hope our students heard that. It's not even just about going to the professional level. We're talking about your job, your career. So all of that will follow you. So make sure that you're mindful of what you put on Facebook, what you put on Twitter, and Snapchat, and Instagram, and TikTok. So just be mindful of that. I want to grab Tam's thoughts on this real fast, and then I'll come back to you, Anthony. I hadn't forgot. but I want to talk about race and sports in America. So my first question is, how have sports impacted race in America? And Tamaka, I'm going to ask you to chime in on that for me. How has sports impacted race in America?
Well, it's kind of tough. Oh,
Tim,
did you say Tim?
Hold on one second, Tim. Let me grab Tamaka first. She has to get out of here and go to a meeting. So I'm gonna grab her first, and then Tim, I got you next.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be quick, Tim, so you can. I'm gonna make this assist to you, okay? I would like to just mention that sports has done a lot of things for race in America, but I want to stay on the positive side of this. Maybe Tim will pull us on the other side. It has definitely been a unifier for our country and for the world. It is most certainly brought awareness to a lot of things. I think, when I think about sports and teams that I've been a part of, and I get to witness every day, when you're in that locker room, you're a part of a team, you're a family, and it doesn't matter your race, your background, your socioeconomic differences, none of that. And so I believe that sports continues to be that. I think it's put a lot of things on the radar lately, as Jamal has shared, the demand that professional sports are having for ownership, and the demand that our student athletes on the collegiate level are having to hold administrators accountable, which is all good stuff. So I believe that there's a lot that a platform of college athletics and professional sports can provide. And it is the I think the common denominator, because there's a lot of economics involved in it. And if people don't listen and respond, there's some detriment to the business that I think at other levels that people don't want to deal with as well. So thank y'all for having me. This is a great panel. I've got to jump to another meeting. Y'all keep rocking it out, okay? Thanks, Nedra.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tamaka. Let me go to Tim real fast. Tim, thank you. And let's keep this conversation going, because I think that right now, more than ever, sports is impacting race. So give me your thoughts on that, Tim.
So with sports, I believe that, sports helps bring us together. It helps bring, people of different races together to compete, to get to reach a common goal, whether it's football, basketball, soccer. You get people from all different denominations that like to compete, and their main goal is to win. Inside there, you do build like another brotherhood. You build a relationship with the guys in the locker room, with your coaches, and it just builds that community with one another. I believe sports also gives like athletes, I didn't get a chance to play on a professional level, but it gives the athletes that do get a chance, it gives them a platform for their voice to be heard, and things that they find that are like issues, things that they feel like it needs to be heard, different conversations. It just gives them that avenue to have those conversations with different teammates, or for what media sources and outlets, and be able to talk to them and give them perspective, and give them a walk in their shoes, and I also believe that sports with our youth, it continues to educate. Myself, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in if it wasn't for football. I'm gonna be completely honest. Sports was my outlet. It was my way to let off anger, my emotion. It was my way to continue to build my character. From not having a father figure, the coach was like the only authoritative figure that I've had. So it was a way for me to learn structure. And then I had another thought, I forgot.
It's okay. We'll let you come back to it. That's okay. We got a whole hour left, so don't worry about it. Jamar, how has sports impacted race?
I think, was it Tamika, right? I think she said it. I mean, it started the hard conversations. I mean, like you said, we sports brings together people from every different background, every different culture. So I know, at least in the locker rooms I've been in, it started the hard conversations that needed to happen, right? Like, you have a lot of African-American teammates that feel a certain way about all these situations, about just being oppressed. And we've been feeling like this for years. But now, again, like we have that platform. We have the platform to start the hard conversations. We have the platform to reach out to different organizations and bring a whole community together. So that's one way I would say like how sports has helped. I mean, whether it's, LeBron wearing I'm more than an athlete shirt or wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt. Those things start so many talks that need to be happen. I just look at my family alone. My wife is mixed. Her mom's side is white, her dad's side is Black. And when you have somebody like me and they come over, I'm very straightforward type of person. And when, when they bring up certain situations or conversations, they happen. And I think they happen because, they see it on TV. They see it every day. It's nonstop. It's on the ticker at ESPN all day. It's on social media. So that's one way, short and simple, I would say, race has affected sports.
And I want to throw the next part of it. I want to throw it over to Pam and or Mark. And then I am going to go back to Anthony and Tamara, because I want to go back to the recommendations to become a professional athlete. And then I want Tamara to share what she had in the chat. So, but let me go to Pam real fast. How do you think race impacts sports? So we asked how sports impact race. How does race impact sports? Or is it equal? Is it the same impact?
Hard question. I don't really know. I think that when you first posed this question, one of the first things I thought of was there is this expectation because of your race, the sport that you will play. And I will say it. I'm a 6 foot tall Black woman. The expectation is that I should have played basketball. Yep. See, Janae knows.
Look at Janae.
And sure did not. The next step would be I should have played volleyball. Sure, did not do that either. And so there is that initial expectation. So you're already having to kind of get out of that box to start out with. And there's times when you can leverage that and you leverage that expectation. And then there's times where you're just going to let people sit with that expectation and you just move on. So I think that was my very first thought when you asked that, is like it's that expectation, which I don't know how best to deal with it. Like, it is what it is, and we work through it. But I'm gonna throw it to Mark because he might have something more intelligent to say about it.
Well, and before Mark goes, Pam, that's a great thought. I never thought about it as a stereotype. Because of my race, it's an expectation that I play sports. Forget about what sport. If I'm a Black male walking around a campus, at a predominantly white institution, it's automatic that I'm there because I'm an athlete. So that's a great point. So that you did a great job. It was tough, but you did a great job, as I knew you would. All right. Thank you, Mark.
Well, these are great questions. And I don't know that I'm the expert on this, but when I think about like the Williams sisters breaking down barriers in tennis and Tiger Woods breaking down barriers in golf, these are predominantly white sports. You've got to be wealthy, all of those type of things. So when I pick up a tennis racket and take my daughter to, a court now, it's more acceptable. So I think sports have helped race. Race has helped sports. It's also helped expand. Like African Americans, it's okay to play tennis. It's okay to play golf. It's okay to expand where you're at. You don't just have to pick up a basketball, a football, whatever. So I think it's been extremely powerful. I think in terms of interconnectedness, just with understanding people, I was the only African-American guy on my baseball team in college. But this is an opportunity for these guys to ask me questions outside of baseball about my experience and to give them some insight that they would not have had we not been on a team together. So conversations get started as a result of this, and an understanding takes place. And for me personally, like some of these guys I played baseball and football with, like we've done business deals together. That wouldn't have happened if sports wasn't involved, so there's a bond, there's a friendship. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I do see the connection between the two.
Absolutely answered it. And that's another great point. I know that it's not our place or our job to educate other races about our race. However, it's always an awesome opportunity to provide insight and to share experiences so that we all can get to know, understand. And the most important part of what you said, Mark, is to build respect.
Yes.
It helps to build respect. So, I mean, you absolutely hit it and knocked it out the park. So thank you so much for that. So let me go back real fast now to Anthony, then Tamara, because Anthony, I want to know what you think our 3 recommendations could be for our student athletes listening. What could help them to become a professional athlete? And then I'm going to go to Tamara. Then I want to ask a question that's in the chat. And I want Keith to help me answer that. So Anthony, I know that Jamar said, where are my 3 things Jamar said? He said hard work, he said dream big, and he said discipline. So Anthony, what are your 3 top things that a student can do to become a professional athlete?
Number one, and first and foremost, is to have faith. Second of all is the work ethic. And third of all is the grit. Because what we have to understand is, well, I don't want to really get into religion, but wherever your faith is, you have to walk, don't walk by sight, you walk by faith, because you got to say, it's in your hands, whether I'm going to make it into sports or whether it be around sports or just in life in general. And when we get so caught up in saying, oh, I want to be exactly this, and sometimes it's not for us to be there, because we have to follow whatever vision has been set out or whatever path has been laid for us. So then you think about work ethic. When I get to work ethic, I get to remembering about things I did. I did have fun in my college days, but what I remember about my work ethic was, even though I went out and had a little party or whatever, I always made sure that I either worked it off, or I was out there when I was working with my teammates, that I was in the front. I was being that leader, and I was also listening to the coaches, which are the leaders who can tell us give us and tell us those tools that we need to be able to use to get to where we want to be. Because we have a lot of times, we have coaches who, never made it professional. They look at what they did and what they didn't do and give it to us to say, okay, I didn't do this, but I'm going to give it to you and make sure that you get there and be successful. You just have to be willing to accept it and take it in. Now, the last part is the grit part, that when I wake up in the morning at that 5 a.m. practice, or if I'm tired or I'm sore, that I keep on pushing, because I know that it's mind over matter, because my body is not going to give up on me. My mind is going to give up before I do. And I have to say to everybody else, why not do it? Why not let it be you? And that grit also comes with a hard burden. It's a lot of weight to bear that people do not realize and think about until it's too late, is that not only am I competing with the people in my conference or the people who are trying to take my position, when I want to get to that professional level, I'm competing with people for now is across the world, because they're bringing in people from different countries and everything, and making it a lot harder for you just to be just say America to be successful. So now when I'm over here sleeping, it's a guy over in just say Africa or somewhere like that who's working right then. And he may have got that one extra step in over me, and that could be that determining factor of saying, yeah, nay to me going into that professional level or getting that interview or that job. And when we get a grasp of that, it's overwhelming, because it's a weight that's almost like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. But that's the reason we have shoulders. That's the reason we lift those weights. That's the reason we have that work ethic, that grit, because we got broad shoulders so we can hold this weight up. You've been under it so many times. I'm training and preparing myself for this. And this is what also my faith has gotten me prepared for and I was suited for.
Wow, thank you, Anthony. Preach. That was awesome. I mean, these shoulders are they're tough, and we have to always bear a whole lot, and our shoulders are tough. So thank you for that. So all of our student athletes out there, you got to have some good, strong shoulders and make sure that you're ready to go. Because if you're not, then you're going to miss that opportunity to make that roster. And you don't want to do that. That roster, making that roster is worth a whole lot. So thank you for that, Anthony. Let me go to Tamara now, because I want Tamara to talk a little bit about what some of the weight that we carry, how that can help to compensate us a little bit. And what she's gonna talk about is also now at the 2-year level, and it's talking about likeness and image and should student athletes be compensated. So, and then after that, we're gonna go into a little bit of termination and hiring and how to face rejection. So go ahead, Tamara.
Thank you, Nedra. So one thing I'm just going to piggyback off of what Anthony said, and he talked about really the longevity and the sacrifice that athletes have to buy into in order to be successful. And I think there's this notion, especially when you get to the Division I level, that being a student athlete is a privilege, right? And by definition, a privilege is something that you don't earn, right? But it's actually the opposite, right? When you get to the D1 level, or really where an institution is compensating you via scholarship, room and board, right? You've paid into that pot. And so in particular, the NCAA has made last year alone, 2019 alone, they made $18 billion off the backs of student athletes, right? And depending on where you are, your scholarship is worth X amount, okay? So what happens is there's an industry that is clearly here, but we still are calling this industry like amateurism, right? And so what has happened in the great state of California, where I'm from, Governor Newsom signed a bill, Senate Bill 206, right? And essentially the bill was inspired by a court case that went on for decades, where the NCAA essentially made money off of the likeness and the name and the body type of a student athlete, which probably most student athletes don't remember, was Ed O'Bannon, right? And Ed O'Bannon got no money. He got no sort of earnings or stock or anything in the money that was made off of his character, essentially. And so California was one of the very first bills that signed into law, essentially saying that a student athlete can get paid for their likeness. They can get paid for signing autographs. They can get paid for promoting their own camps and things like that. So what you're seeing is this conglomerate of a bunch of different things happening, right? The boom of social media and the fact that, I think someone mentioned it earlier, the ability to cut out the middleman, right? And to say, essentially, you own your likeness, right? And your likeness is worth a value now, right? You see a lot of folks becoming, social media ambassadors. I'm not really sure what that means, but it just means you have a large following. And if you say, use this product, everybody goes and buys this product, essentially. And so now there's a monetary value that we can attribute to this in this world of now amateurism. And so what this bill has inspired and really brought to light, and again, my lens is colored by my past 5 years in labor, right? Which is this is a labor issue, right? And workers are essentially not being compensated for their work, right? So when you make it to a bowl game, there's X amount of dollars that are sent to your university. Student athletes get none of it. Right. And what I think is happening is, we can glorify the guys who make it to the NFL, but when we look at the lifespan of these athletes in the pros, it's not enough to really compensate for some of the things that we give up, like our bodies, sometimes our mental health, right? Our ability to have interned, right, in other organizations, to gain knowledge in other areas. And so now what this bill is saying is that as student athletes are currently on rosters, they can make money off of their likeness, their own personal likeness, right? I
think she's
player award.
And there she is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So if you think about it in particular, like Skylar Diggins, she wore a headband and that made the headband popular, right? She should have been compensated for the millions of little girls that wanted to wear headbands. Mm-hmm. And so what has happened is we've all bought into this narrative that you're getting your college education, be grateful, don't ask for more. And now social media has created a market where student athletes can be compensated based on a rubric, right? But really, if you think about it, it really violates somewhat of our rights as workers, right? This is a business and someone's making money, and the people who don't get to make any additional money are the student athletes, and everybody comes from different financial backgrounds. That money could be served differently in everyone's family. So, you know, I think the most important thing that I'm taking away, and I'm a fan of this bill, you know, and I know that we talked about how race plays an impact in sport. And starting to shut things down is the fact that people aren't getting the money that they want to get off of the backs of athletes. And when the NBA decided they weren't going to play games and people took a knee and people canceled games, right? People started to listen because there was a revenue that was no longer being generated. Mm-hmm. And so now what this does is at Washington, actually, I'm really proud to be at this institution, is we actually provide our student athletes starting in the spring with classes that actually help you understand what branding is, how to brand yourself. We give branding strategy courses. We also educate your family, right? Or your third uncle, as they call it, that person who gives you all of the advice on what you should do as a student athlete if you have pro potential, on how to foster your own personal identity and make money off of it. So it's not just, you know, because we saw that in the professional level, right? Guys become pros at 21 with billions of dollars, and then they don't know better to know that someone's ripping them off. So it's also educating them on how to protect themselves, what information that they need to have, even what contracts looks like. It also allows student athletes to be able to hire a money manager or a agent to manage that side of their business, right? Your brand is now your business. And so this is a great thing, but it can also be something that could be very abusive to student athletes if they don't know how to manage and navigate these situations. So I think this is something that obviously will impact the 2-year level as well as the 4-year level.
So Tamara just said some great things, and I want to make sure to come back to two things that she said. I want to get the opinion of Mark and Pam on what you think about that coming to the 2-year level. Then I want to go back to Jamar and Anthony, if we could, later, to talk maybe about she's talked about branding and agents, and so how do they play roles in athletics? But I want to go to the question real quick in the chat. And I want Keith and Greg to chime in on this. How do you think training as a student athlete in sports and training to be great at your sport, how do you think it has prepared you for your professional roles? How have those ethics helped you to become, Keith, now you are the director of outreach coordinator. You were involved in tutoring. So Keith, how has that helped you to become great in that role? And then Greg, I want you to answer that same question.
Thank you, Naja. Actually, this is probably going to be my favorite question because it's prepared me tremendously, right? We're able to transfer everything that we learn in sport, from the discipline, the sacrifice, the daily practices, everything that you put into your sport, you're able to transfer those skills into your professional roles. Right? There's nothing new under the sun. I don't know if you guys have heard that term before, but everything that you do in sport is going to transfer to your job. So in sport, when I was a captain of my teams, right, now I'm leading a team at work, right? It's no different. I have to get them prepared for meetings or trainings, right? So the same things that you would do in sport, now you're just doing in your professional realm. And so that competitive spirit as well has helped lead me into leadership things. For example, I'm working on my doctorate right now. I have one more year left at San Diego State, and it's in educational leadership, right? And so the reason I decided to go into that was because I said, man, I only got one more degree to go and I don't have to go back to school. And I was like, that's a win, right? I'm gonna do this because when I'm on campus, I want people to call me doctor too, right? I want to be at the table and I want them to look at me like, hey, he knows something, right? So that competitive nature in me from sports, it kind of just transferred into my position at work. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this degree and I know I can do it because I have the work ethic. I know what I have to do to practice and study, right? These are all things that I learned from sport, right? Just being competitive. I want that title too, right? Or I want that salary too, right? If we really want to get serious about things, right? And so know that you can have whatever you want. When you want to win a championship, you have to go through all these obstacles, right? You have to go through all this heartache and pain and blood, sweat, tears, right? You're gonna have those same issues in interviews, right? You're gonna lose that game. You're gonna lose that interview, right? You're not gonna get that job, right? But it's okay. I'm gonna go to the next game. I'm gonna go to the next interview, right? I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna study more. I'm gonna get a coach, right? I'm gonna get a coach to help me practice for that interview, right? Just like you would get a coach to help you when you're in sport, right? Hey, what did I do wrong? What could I do better next time? So now we're just transferring all these little principles that you learn in sport. You guys don't know how blessed you are to experience this, because it's just, you just move it. You're channeling these principles and these situations that you're going through, these obstacles, and you move them. Some of you guys get injured in sports, right? That's a setback. Now you have to sit back and watch others, right? Take that as an opportunity to learn, right? Okay, I know I can't practice. I can't do this. I have this injury. It sucks, but it's okay. It's going to be all right. Because now it's an opportunity. I'm going to watch more film, right? You have to take what you're given, these obstacles, and just channel them, right? And use them to make you better, and know that this is going to be useful later on in my life, right? So that's how I've kind of been able to channel the things I learned in sport with leading a team and principles. And Anthony talked about having work ethic, right? My work ethic from work comes from my work ethic in sport, right? I want to be competitive. I want my team to be good, right? I want to celebrate with my team, right? When we have a victory, we celebrate, right? You know, when Thanksgiving comes, let's have a team potluck, right? Just like you would do with your team when you guys win a championship. Hey, at work, I do this with my team. Now we celebrate this way, right? And so you just take these little things, that culture that you learned in sport, you move it to your job, right? And it will help you, right? And then you'll build that confidence and that faith, and that work ethic, as you take those principles you're learning in sport. Everything your coach taught you, you can move that over and use it in your interview. You can use it when you're about to take that test, right? You know you got a test coming up. You know you got a championship game. You got a test. What do you do for that, right? You guys practice, right? You study, but you ain't gonna pass that test. You ain't gonna win that game if you're not practicing, right? And so you just move those things over, and know that they all work together. There's nothing new under the sun, you guys. This is all transferable. All right, so that's what I want to share with you guys, is in terms of you know, how I've been able to use athletics and mirror that into my professional experiences, and now I've been able to move up in leadership at Grossmont College, because I'm taking those same skills. And you know, I had failed interviews, or my resume didn't get pulled and I didn't get that right, but I kept going. I said, okay, next one. Eventually you win, right?
Thank you, Keith. You have fired me up, Keith. I am fired up. I am ready to go, Keith. Greg, let's chime in on Keith, because Keith just talked about being fired up. And Keith said that, and it's going to lead into another question for later. Don't worry about that job you didn't just get. Worry about that job to prepare for to get the next one. So what are some things, Greg, that helped you as a student athlete and a coach for the position that you're in now?
Well, I'm coming from a little different angle on this, because the position I'm in right now, dealing with we deal with the holistic development of student athletes here. And one thing that we found out is our career fair is unbelievable, because we have so many companies and corporations that come through, and even the hospitals that come through to recruit our athletes. And the question we brought to them was, why are you recruiting? Why are we getting more employees coming to our athletic career fair than the school? And basically because athletes are probably the best employees of each company. Because like the things that Turner was just saying, we talked about the grit. We talked about the obstacles in the way and adjusting. We talked about the hard work. We talked about the determination. We talked about leadership. We talked about understanding your role. And we all understand that as athletes. So you guys are the cream of the crop when it comes to that group of employees that employers want. So understand those things that you are learning on and off the court. Being a student athlete is basically preparing you to be that CEO of that next company. The professional athlete is one direction, but that professional career is that ultimate position, because athletes and these coaches, these players, to tell you, they're old at 30. they tell you, and they just starting. They just starting their life, because that frontal lobe just not fully developed. You guys that's not going to that professional realm, you can start that career right off the rip. It's right off the muscle. So take a heed of the learning experience that you are getting from being a student athlete, because these employees do recognize that. They recognize that, and they want you more than they want the civilian, because they understand your resume not show that, it may not show that you got a job at Walmart and McDonald's and all that, because you didn't have time for it. But what your resume is showing, that you got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you grind and grind all day and night, sometime in the sun, some in the dark, some in the rain, my brother.
All right,
you got to understand what's going on. They appreciate it. They appreciate it, and they understand it. And they want you to work for them. They want you. So you just got to prepare yourself, put yourself in position, and just understand that you are where you are because who you are. Now let's make it happen. And another thing, number 21, we want you back in Cleveland, baby. Can you come back next week or something? Somebody cover it.
Tell them to make it happen.
Thank you, Reverend Green. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I like the word you use, civilian. I call them non-traditionals. You call them civilians. So I like that. So thank you, Reverend Green. All right, Jamar, you get your bags ready and go to Cleveland. Go ahead and weigh in for me on this topic.
No, so I mean, Keith had me fired up too as well. But I think the biggest thing is like time management. That's one of the hugest things, how sport can help in any professional field, really. Like my wife, we talk about it all the time. Like with having a daughter, like we're fairly new parents. Our daughter's only 2 years old, but literally I get so much done before 1 p.m. just because my time management skills are crazy. And I picked that up from playing sports since I was, 5 years old. So I think that's one of the things people don't see compared to the average student is we have so much to balance when we're in high school, when we're in college. I mean, you got to go to class, go to 5:45 workouts, 5:45 a.m. workouts. Then you go to training table to go eat. Then you have study hall, and then you have class, and then you have meetings, and then you have class again. And then you need to study and do homework. Maybe you have a test. Like it's so much that goes into being a student athlete that's unseen. Some student athletes even work, right? And like that's really, really hard to manage. So once you get out of college and you become in any professional field, I feel like most student athletes, I'm gonna say 99%, because you always have that extra little bit that just don't care about time management, I guess, or that really just don't want to give in to that time or scheduling out. But we're able to just schedule things the right way, do things the right way. The other thing I would say is we were able to adapt really, really well and pick up things really, really well. I used to have Coach Chris Peterson, who coached me at Boise, used to say, the great ones adjust. And when I think about like my life, when I think about my teammates' lives or some of my close friends, is Anthony can probably piggyback on this a little bit, but we have to learn things so quick. You go into that meeting room, they put in the game plan, you got to be able to go on the grass in an hour for walkthrough and have it picked up. And I think that's why as a student athlete, you learn so much, because it's the same way since you've been a little kid. Your coach puts in a play, he expects you to know the play, you have to run it well, and you have to know it well in order for him to have complete confidence in you and your teammates to have complete confidence in you that you're going to do you're 111. You're going to be accountable to do your job. So I just think that's one way being a student athlete helps us in any other field. We're able to adapt. We're able to compete, like Keith said. We want to be the best at everything, right? We want to have a seat at the table. And if you keep that drive, if you keep that willingness and that hunger to do all those things, you can do it because you've been doing it since you were little, essentially. So I just kind of, it was, as Keith was talking, it was kind of just hitting, and I'm just like, man, like, you're so true. Like, I literally think about, like a couple years ago, me and my friend, we were talking about a nonprofit. We did everything in the world to start a nonprofit. I wanted to get into real estate. I did that, and everybody's like, hey, you have a newborn. It was like, yeah, but it's the off season. I work out from 6 to 1, but when I come home, I'm a family man. Once my daughter takes a nap, then next thing you know, I'm on to my ventures, and then after that, like, I'm still make sure I'm ready to sit down with my family and be fully present by dinner time. You know what I mean? So it just really, the time management thing is everything, and we're able to do whatever we want along when we put our mind to it and just go after it.
Thank you, Jamar. Appreciate that. Time management is, man, it's crucial. It is so crucial as a student athlete, and then transferring into being a professional. It is, and I'm not talking about a professional athlete. I'm talking about just a professional. If you have your own business, if you work for a company, if you're in higher ed, if you're a professional athlete, regardless of what you do, time management is so important. And Jamar hit it, as student athletes, that's what we're trained at doing, because we always have to be somewhere. Everything is always like this. So I want Tim, as a former student athlete, and then Janae to close this topic out for us. I want them to weigh in on this as well. Tim?
Wow, that's kind of hard to follow up after you guys, because you guys have been right there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would think, as a student athlete, I would say like competition would have to be one of my biggest things, because I believe competition, it drives achievement. You can, and not competing with your coworkers, but competing with yourself to become the best you that you can be. Lately I've been using this slogan. It's like me versus me, money bag yo. It's me versus me, because I'm the only person that can stop me. I'm the only person that can get in my own way. You know what I mean? I play defensive line, so I was like, dude, these offensive linemen, they can't stop me. They can't stop me. The only one that's going to stop me from making a play is me. Or if the quarterback, he get that 1 second release, because I ain't going to give him 2. So one thing that Jamar also, he had mentioned, he said something about time management skills. Time management skills is very, very important, because what you spend your time on is basically what you're indulging in. It's what you're putting to your body. But on top of that, I believe that mind management skills are important. You have to be careful about what you think about. You have to be thinking in the right directions. You playing sports, you have a bad play. You can't dwell on that bad play. That's why I think defensive backs in football are some of the most renowned players, because they get bombed on all day. And they have to be over here thinking like, okay, next play, next rep mentality. I got to forget about that. So mind management skills are very, very important. Along with that, be careful what you put into your mind, like spending numerous hours on social media and stuff like that, looking at the wrong things. You want to look at things that motivate you, that uplift you. One of my favorite motivational speakers is Eric Thomas, hands down. He keeps it lit. He keeps the fire. He keeps the presence, and you definitely feel where he's coming from. You can relate. Like, you'll be laying in bed and you listen to Eric Thomas. You like, I gotta get up. I gotta do something, because he really set me on fire right now. And so you just gotta stay self-motivated, and it starts up here. That's the difference between the regular student athletes, the professional athletes. It was their mind. It was their, oh, I'm gonna lay in bed till 8, or I'm gonna get up at 7. I'm gonna get up at 6 and go hit the field, go hit the track, go hit the weight room. I'm gonna study plays. And so I believe that's really important. Another thing for me would be like networking. And so, like, with football, coming from junior college, coming from Grossmont, I sent thousands of emails to different schools, thousands of emails to different colleges and coaches, and text messages to other players, other teams, just trying to figure out, okay, this coach got fired. Okay, where's he going? Okay, but this one got fired. Where he coming from? Trying to put yourself in that mix so that you're always moving forward. You don't want to be stagnant. So networking plays a big factor. And I can personally say that from like transitioning from a student athlete to, moving over to the academic side, networking is something that's been kind of prolific for me. I've been able to take those things and put the pieces in the right places. Mr. Green had mentioned about something about late nights and early mornings, and I tell you, it's crazy because it's like you really, the earlier you get up or the later that you stay up, it's like you add more time to your day. You know, you get up earlier and you're up before everybody else. You're able to get so much done. You're able to, you know, keep things moving. I know before this meeting, I was like, dude, I got to get up I got to get up at 5 a.m. I got to get up. I got to go work out. I got to get it in because I got this big meeting coming up and I got to get the wheels rolling, you know? And so it just keeps you motivated. It keeps you thinking, keeps your mind going, and you're up before everybody else. That's one thing I like about getting up early. You're up like at the crack of dawn. The birds ain't even started chirping yet, and you're getting to it. You're getting your wheels turning. I believe in faith. I don't know where everybody's faith at, but faith is definitely a big thing for me. You have to have that faith that you're going to get yourself to where you're going to go. You know, you have to believe in yourself. You have to be your number one fan, you know, back before everybody else was cheering. You like, all right, I can do this. You have to have that confidence, you know, you have to have that vision. And you know, me being of faith, you know, the Bible speaks about like old men having visions and dreaming dreams. And one of my favorite quotes, you know, Steve Harvey kind of brought this to life. He said, write the vision down and make it plain so that whoever runs to it shall tarry. And I believe in the beginning of the year, you have to set those goals. You have to write your goals down, you know, and you revisit these goals. You make 30-day goals, you make 5-year goals, you make 10-year goals, and you take those things with a grain of salt, you move forward. Oh man, I knocked that off. Oh, pat on the back, a quick clap, and then, you know, we're on to the next goal. And so one thing that I learned from transitioning from a student athlete to the academic side is that you can't, you know, you can have those goals to be like, I want to be all American. I want to be all conference. I want to reach this goal. I want to lift this amount of weight. I want to make this weight. You can have those goals, but, you know, career wise or relationship wise, you can have those goals in every avenue that you choose to indulge upon. So, you know, I just believe in like taking the things that we learned in sports and kind of just transitioning over to your real life because, you know, it's funny because with sports, like it's like your mind is the first thing to go. You know, like you're lifting weights, you're running, and your body and your mind is like, you can't do this, but your body's still going, but your mind is like, you can't do this, but you have to fight through those barriers. Well, in life, your body's the first thing to go. So you got to continue to build your mind. You got to continue to keep those things growing, keep the wheels turning, because that's where the real perseverance kind of shows at the end of life. Okay, what was he focused on in his 20s and his 30s and his 40s? Where's he at in his 50s, his 60s, so on and so forth? Those investments, you know, your kids, your family, your relationship, your career, you know, you look at those things and it all starts from that perseverance with sports. And a lot of people in the workplace now don't have those skills. And we're blessed because, you know, playing sports, you're able to harness those at an early age. And if you can apply those in the right direction, and when you get later in life, oh, you'll be dangerous. You'll be dangerous for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. Janae, let me let you close this topic out.
Okay, it kind of touches on, there's another question you had about kind of time management and work-life balance and stuff on there too.
Go ahead.
Going back to what Jamar was talking about as far as just adapting, I think going overseas was the biggest adaptation that I kind of had to go through. Teammates not speaking the language, coaches not speaking the language, you being in a foreign country and just having to like adapt to their culture, just like Americans, quote unquote, expect people to come here and make sure they speak the language and make, you know, that kind of thing. So I feel like that adaptation came from what I had to do in college as well. I think college is where I learned how to take a 13-minute nap, like in between classes, just boom, back, go to something else. I'll take a nap at work now, like, oh, I got 7 minutes, cool. Let me just take this nap real quick. But and my friends now, like, I'm so particular about my time. I use every minute. I'll be driving to work, 40-minute commute. I'm listening to a lecture for school. Like, I try to use, instead of listening to music or whatever the case is, I try to use every minute I have. And I think that came from just juggling stuff in sports and college, stuff like that, into bringing it to this doctorate program I'm in now. I use it like Tim, I think it was Keith said it. He was just talking about the competitive edge in your professional career too. Like, I want to be the best physical therapist. I want to be the top of this, whatever realm I'm in, you know? So right now I'm juggling working as a physical therapy assistant, full-time doctorate student, and just launching my sports performance business. So I don't really have a life. That's it. But soon it'll pay off. In 2 years is how I look at it. Like, all the hard work now will pay off until I'm running my own business. So that's kind of just the 2 cents I wanted to throw in there.
Thank you, Janae. Appreciate that. And good luck with your doctoral program. I hope that all of the initiatives and all of the things that you're in, I hope that they grow, and I know they will grow, because you sound like a person that knows how to have work-life balance, because those a 13-minute nap, you figured it out. You have figured it out. So I know you'll figure everything else out. We have about 15 minutes left, and I want to try to get to the last 2 topics and circle back if I can, if we have time. You know, in athletics, in our industry, you know, it's not about if you're going to get fired. It's about when you're going to get fired, or when you're not going to get that job that you want, or, you know, maybe not reach a certain goal or become that top assistant or get that raise. So I want Pam and Mark to kind of help out with this conversation. And I might even add some to this as well, because, you know, I'm in the athletic industry as well. And I have, been doing this for about 25 years. So I know a lot about, you know, hiring, firing, and all of that too. But let me let Mark start it off. Mark, what do you tell our student athletes and our panel members about, rejection and possible termination?
Great question. Let me give you a 2-minute answer to what should be a 60-minute keynote presentation, because I got some experience with this. I worked at Cal State San Bernardino for 8 years. I tell people it was the best 7 years of my life. So my last year, I got a new boss, and, you know, I'm not in a union or anything. She could have just fired me right away. And that could have been better for me than the torture she put me through for that last year. But for whatever reason, she had it out for me, was coming after me. Are there haters out there in the world? You better believe there are. All right. So I don't know what it was that I did to tick her off, or maybe she just wanted her own staff or whatever, but she had it out for me, and she was not going to let up until I was gone. And ended up accusing me of some stuff that I did not do. I had to get an attorney involved. The California district attorney was coming after me. I sat through interviews with my lawyer next to me. It was brutal, just absolutely brutal stuff. Also, being a person of faith, boy, there's always something better. You know, whatever you're going through, whatever valley of the shadow of death you're going through, you will get through it. All right. And we got to have that faith. So here's what really ended up happening as a result of that. So I was director of student leadership and development at Cal State San Bernardino. A buddy of mine said, I know what you're going through, man, but I saw a job posting over at Norco College. And I'm like, I'm not qualified for that. I was actually in my doctorate program at the time, and it was being paid for by Cal State San Bernardino. So I don't want to take another job. They're paying my doctorate. Well, I threw my name in the hat just as practice. Okay. I just wanted to practice interviewing for the job that maybe one day I'll get a shot for. Well, they loved me. They brought me over. This has been the best job I've ever had. And if it wasn't for that boss that was coming after me, I wouldn't even been looking. Would not have even looked at that. I'm like, I'll retire at Cal State San Bernardino. I ended up getting a $40,000 raise by getting this job. Okay. Everything happens for a reason. So go through your valley of the shadow of death, understanding the sun is going to shine tomorrow, and there's something bigger and brighter out there for you. So
thank you, Mark. And I want everybody to know that I had no idea that Mark had this story. So I just happened to call on him. We never discussed this. So thank you for being very, very transparent. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Pam, what about rejection, Pam, or whatever story you have?
So mine, I was finishing grad school and I was applying for jobs. And I can remember this weekend that I had literally applied, at that point in time, I had applied for probably 25 different jobs. On that Friday, I got 20 rejection letters. They didn't even want to interview me. It was brutal. So I had this professor in grad school who said, you only get to feel sorry for yourself for 24 hours. He calls it, you know, you only have your woe is me, your pity party for 24 hours. So I remember calling him and telling him, I just got rejected from 20 schools all in the same day. And he said, well, you only get to have that 24-hour pity party. I was like, I am taking the whole damn weekend. It is the woe is me Olympics. We are going to have opening ceremonies. We're going to have closing ceremonies. There's going to be all kinds of things over the weekend. And he said, that's fine, but you got to get back on that horse on Monday. Just do what you got to do. So I spent the next 2 days having my woe is me Olympics. I promise you on Monday morning, I got one job offer, which I ended up taking, which is what took me up to Alaska. And then probably another week later is when I got 2 more job offers. So there is always something else that's coming, like Mark said. It's like, you don't know what it is, but it's coming and there is a reason. So for me, it worked out very well. I never thought that I would be where I am now, but it was because of those 20 rejection letters I got all on that one day. And it was brutal, but you have to look back at the experiences that you have, the hard work that you've put in. You know that you have done the work. You just got to keep plugging because it is what it is. You can't control any of it. So you might as well just keeping your head down and say, you know what, give me the next. What's the next? And just keep going. So for me, that's how it worked.
You guys give me chills. We need to meet up every morning to get our day started, to get some positivity rolling, because all of the powerful statements and stories and comments are just awesome. I'll share real quick, it won't be long. The job that I am currently in, I applied for this job twice. I applied for this job twice. Who comes back to apply for another job after you got rejected? Well, I did. And the reason why I did is because they should not have hired me the first time, because I was not ready. I was not qualified. I did not know the job content. I had no idea about California Community College. And the one thing I'll tell anybody, this is a different beast to learn and understand. You can't fake the funk in an interview at a California Community College. You cannot. It's impossible. The lingo is so different. I had been at the Division I and Division II level for about 18 years. And I said, well, you know, let me go to California. No, they said, no, go learn what we do first. Go get invested in it. Go gain ownership. Then you come back. So a year, maybe 2 years later, I came back. I knew the lingo. I knew what was going on. I knew how to operate. I knew procedural things. So get yourself ready. Be prepared. No one is going to give you anything. And if you're not ready, they will see through you.
But so, Nedra,
yes,
not to interrupt you, but you need to tell them what you did in between, because you and I met at convention.
Yeah.
There was already work that you were doing to get to this job. And I feel like that your student athletes that are listening to this need to understand that piece and that struggle that you did to get now where you are.
Yeah. And I was going to leave all that out, Pam, because it's a whole lot to unpack.
Sorry, Mark already laid some stuff out.
Yeah.
You just need to say that piece when we talked, what was going down before you even applied for this job. That's the piece that they need to know.
Great piece. So I was an interim assistant athletic director at Santa Monica College before I came to Grossmont. And so I'm not a bragger, and I'm the most humble person, but I know I was doing a great job at my job. I knew that. I had put some great things in place, et cetera, et cetera. Well, similar to Mark, I had a boss that and similar to Pam's story, just absolutely intimidated. And when you come in and you work, you do your job, you do things you're supposed to do, everybody can't handle that. So it became a situation for me of, look, you better you're going to stay here and possibly face termination or, whatever, or you can go and take advantage of opportunities, because look, this is not for you. And I went through a very, very traumatic situation. It was not good at all. It actually almost broke me, but because I have what do you call it, people in your corner and people a part of your mix, like Greg and Tamaka, you know, and my family and other individuals, I was able to get through it. And the things that, you know, I talked to Pam about, you know, we can't expose it all, but it was a very, very traumatic situation. However, I was ready and I was prepared. That's the key. You better be prepared, because people aren't just going to give you a job and put you in leadership roles. You have to be ready and prepared.
And that networking, and your networking piece, I think, is huge, because that's when I met Nedra, was at a 3C2A convention. And Nedra, I mean, how she is now is how she always is. And she is authentic. And she came straight up to me and was like, look, I need some help. What do you know? Who do you know? I am here. And I'm like, where are you at? Where are you working? He's like, and you were flat out. You're like, look, I'm looking for new opportunities and blah, blah, blah. But you were there to network, and you were there to figure out who were your people and who were going to be in your corner. And I think that's the piece that I more wanted you to share, is that those are your people. Those are the people that you can call up and say, hey, you want to be on this panel? And I'm like, yeah, because you know what? We got this bond. Or, you know what? I need help here. And probably the biggest part is that networking, because somebody will always be there to help you. And that's what got Nedra where she's at right now, is her ability to put herself out there to everybody and say it.
That's correct. And that's how I got Mark here. That's how I got Pam here. I didn't know Mark. Me and Mark just served on a subcommittee for transgender. We just did this. And guess who put me on the committee with Mark? Pam. So, I mean, that's our connection. Pam is way up north. I'm way down south. So that's how we know each other, working together. So just get involved, be on committees. And like Pam said, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing. I'm not afraid to say anything to anyone, nothing. I will build a friendship and a relationship, and it will last forever. Either you like me or you don't. I apologize. That's how it is. So, and I tend to try to be very, very inclusive, and I try to be open. But if you want to answer, and if you want it to be direct, and you want it to be true, I'm your person. If you don't want to hear the truth, I'm not your person. So that's just, sorry, that's just a little snippet of how me and Pam met and how I got here.
Can I add one more thing? Has nothing to do with that, but it was something that I think I want your student athletes to know, is how small the world of athletics truly is. Because 2 points to this. One is, I was working at Sac State. I applied for a job at University of North Texas. An assistant football coach was on that committee, and he called the head football coach at Sac State to ask about me. Nobody in that department knew that I was even applying for jobs, and that's how quick it all got back. So first thing. Second thing is, it's always like this kind of, they say the 6 degrees of separation. In college athletics, regardless of level, it's like 2 degrees of separation. Here's your example. So Gregory Green over there at UAB, Greg doesn't know this, but I'm about to tell him. Greg's SID is a guy named Ted Feely. Ted Feely was an intern for me when we all worked up at University of Alaska Fairbanks. So Greg, tell Feely that Pam says hi, because that's that connection. Tamaka Smith-Jones, I have lobbied with her for years for a job, just to kind of get on her shoulder, because I knew that she was doing good work. So it is, even there's still that small network at the 2-year, there is an even smaller network at that 4-year, and it crosses over. And it is amazing how many people know how many people. So it is, you're always networking. You're always trying to make sure that you are in front of the right people, but also know that you are always on. It's probably the biggest thing. You don't know who knows somebody who's going to loop it on back to you, and you're going to be like, oh, dang. I had no idea 5 people later was going to call me out over here. So that's my big tip for your student athletes, is you are always on. The internet lives forever, and know that somebody will know somebody who knows you, and it will be 2 degrees of separation, or maybe 5 if you're lucky.
Love it. Thank you so much, Pam. And Janae and Tamra and Tim, I hope you guys are listening, as well as our student athletes. You are in this game, and I'm not trying to say you're younger. Oh, I have no idea. But the individuals on this screen may know someone that you need to know or need help from. Tamaka Smith-Jones, the young lady that just left, oh, she's big time. I'm telling you, she gets a lot of people, a lot of jobs. I stayed with her in Riverside, California for about 3 months when I relocated to Los Angeles. So, I mean, she just opened her home to me. So you just never know who you might need or who might know a person. So just remember all these people. And if you don't mind, before we get off, drop your contact, your social media, anything that a person can contact you with. If you don't want to leave your number, leave your email. If you don't leave your email, leave your social media tag, whatever, however you call it. I'm not into social media. I got a Facebook and anything else I don't know about. But we are your connection now. You know, you can count on us. You can call us. I can call you. So, you know, drop your info, and Jamar and Anthony and all of those other individuals, we have their information. But I just want to say this was awesome. I don't know if you thought it was or not, but I've been getting text messages from our coaches and staff. They were like, Nedra, this is awesome. I want to say maybe y'all would treat me a little better, but that's okay. That's all right. That's okay. But, you know, they said this was awesome. I think the transparency and I think the information was just right on point. So any last comments or any last remarks, anybody want to add or say? Unmute yourself. I want to just say thank you, and then I'll leave it up to you. Tamara, I saw you first unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important also to acknowledge community and how beneficial it is to our own healing. It doesn't mean the job gets easier where we go back to, but it's great to find community. So thanks to everyone who shared their comments. Pam, and Nedra, I'm not far behind you in the age range. I don't know what the skin look like, but I'm right there. I'm up there. But thank you guys for your community. It's well appreciated and absorbed.
But you look awesome. Anybody else? Any final comments from anybody?
Hey, one thing, we didn't talk about this, but when you get a new job or when you're offered a new job, that's when you negotiate your salary. All right, because once you're in the job, you ain't getting a raise. You've got to negotiate your salary at the beginning. So before you accept it, hey, thank you for the offer. I appreciate you thinking of me. Boy, and that's a good salary you've offered, but I had in mind, and you say 10 or 20% more than they've offered, and then the first person who speaks after that loses. You shut up and you wait. They've done a national search. They've picked you. They want you. They will do what they have to do to make it work, okay?
That's great information. Thank you for that. So remember, he said before you accept the offer. And always remember that there's sometimes, and I know in 2-year, there's a K through 12 standard
Sure.
salary. So, but
it's a range though, right? It's
right,
a range.
Right.
So they're going to offer you the lowest at the range. You know you're worth more than that. You know you're going to work hard. You know you're going to bring your A game, get paid now, because you're going to put the time, energy, and effort in and leave your heart and soul on the table. You might as well get paid.
Real quick, I was at a job for 7 years. I went to 7 championships. I won 4. I came in at 40,000. I left out at 40,000. So he's right. Mm-hmm. And did all of that work to build that program. And I came in with the same amount that I left out with. So he is exactly right. They'll bleed you if you let them.
Yes.
So make sure you understand and know your value and your worth.
That's it.
Anybody else? Well, I want to say
thank you for putting this together. This was really good.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tamra. Thank you, Keith. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go, I have got to give my girl Samantha. Let me tell you guys something. Samantha is it. I wish I could send it to you, but I'm not. She is awesome. Samantha is a part-time worker. She's acting as a consultant now. She's not even on staff. I have to hire her as a consultant to help me. because of COVID. But Samantha, thank you, thank you, thank you. You did an awesome job. Samantha has a very unique story too. Samantha, real quick, tell them how you got to Grossmont real quick for me.
I was poached from another school actually for teaching myself a very specific skill. I wanted to get in athletics, so I found a way to do it that nobody else really knew how to. So it's becoming more popular and people are finding out now. So it's a little more competitive, but you know, I'm just so grateful for Nedra giving me the opportunity to be here and to listen to everybody. It's been a huge growth moment for me, and I've taken so many notes, and I'm going to publish this on our website and give everybody a shout out because everybody really brought something to our table today. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Nedra. I'm blushing. I'm like really blushing right now. If you can see my face, I'm bright red. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Samantha, for putting this together. You know, she was the person responsible for all of the behind the scenes stuff, sending out the email, sending out the Zoom link. And also want to thank Jason Allen for giving us the platform to be a part of the Black History Month program. So thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Natalie, don't think I forgot about you. Thank you, Natalie, so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. Thank you for jumping on. Thank you, Janae. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mark. Thank you guys so much. You guys go out, be great, and continue to inspire, motivate, and impact our young people. They need it. We need it. And we will all be better for it. Thank you so much.